Hello to my water signs, Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. Welcome to the Taurus new moon. You'll find the timestamps for your rising signs listed below. Hello Cancer Rising, welcome to your reading for the Taurus new moon happening very soon on Wednesday the 8th of May at 1:24 p.m. if you're in the Southern Hemisphere with me. So we got there just in time for this reading. However, don't stress, don't rush. There's no need to. I've got some information that will lead you into the rest of the month, but also we need to work with the divine principle of relaxation and the divine principle of pleasure for pleasure's sake. So I don't know about you, but I've been doing my utmost to lean into it over the past couple of weeks since that highly emotional Scorpio full moon that we got to enjoy. I've been doing my absolute best to be present and to be in the moment as it unfolds for me, to kind of let go of control of the situation, and to remember how safe I am in this current moment, and to open up my senses to enjoy my five senses again after a time perhaps of being quite caged with anxiety. Astrologically, it's telling a pretty beautiful story to me that we can look forward to more of this pleasure activation for the rest of the month. The planet Venus, goddess of beauty and love, on the mountaintop, brushing her hair, standing in her clamshell, counting her pearls, has just entered Taurus. And just so happens that Venus is the planet that is of best help for Taurus. Venus loves it in Taurus. Taurus is a fixed earth sign that is rooted in the reality of nature and all of its beauty, all of the patterns and synchronicities and wonders of nature. Taurus is all over. Taurus knows what it means to slow down, knows how spiritual an act it can be to resist rushing through anything. There's a languid, gentle, pleasurable quality to Taurus, which I really am trying my best to embody myself. I've been in the kitchen, clacking around in my slingbacks, chopping up sofrito, cooking pasta sauce for 3 hours, and watching Nigella Lawson all the live long day. It's so funny, it happens to me. I don't know if it's annually, I'll have to check, but I've written it in my diary that I've got my Nigella urge coming on strong and fast. It just so happens that it's Venus in Taurus time. So I wonder what will happen the next time Venus is in Taurus, which will be quite soon. Venus moves quite quickly. Perhaps next year I'll check in with myself and be like, oh, well, Venus is in Taurus again. Is it Nigella time? Because that's been my rhythm in my life up until this point. There's been pockets of time when nothing will suffice. I just need my Nigella. I just need to listen to her talk about life and talk about pleasure and talk about food. In the old days when I was a teenager, I didn't really take her up on any of the cooking advice, but I do now. And I've been really treating myself to some slow moving pleasure. So hopefully that's something that you can maybe feel in your life. And if you haven't yet, maybe this reading can be a bit of an encouragement for you to treat yourself, to allow yourself some slower moving pleasure. I know that there's a lot pulling on our attention right now, and I know that there's friction that is just feeling so brittle and so imperative that we focus on that. This is not to stick your head in the sand in any capacity, Cancer Rising. It is to allow yourself time to recuperate from that tension, because that does take its toll on the mind and on the body, to be hypervigilant at all times and to be super hyper focused on the pressure of life on earth. I can feel it now in my back. That's why I get a bit of a hunchback when I start to feel the anxiety rising. It all happens here, here, and there. That's what sort of occurs for me. And I know that by climbing down the mental swords of my being, I can get back to somewhere that feels more restorative. And I have to travel my attention from here. Eventually I get to here, here, and then by the time I reach my belly, I'm back. 1, 2, 3, back in the room. So hopefully you can feel that too. When looking at your birth chart, Cancer Rising, Taurus is the sign that rules your 11th house, which is your sense of humanitarian spirit, your sense of belonging in the community. And so what we know is that Uranus has been driving forward that revolution, that rebellion. What we really know, and we can see it in the world around us, is that Uranus and Taurus is doing their work. Jupiter and Uranus, that exacerbation of rebellion, is really doing its work. You remember at the last horoscope, read the paper, we can see it occurring all over the place. People are rising, people are standing up for what they believe in. People will not take it any longer. And there are so many aspects or facets of the culture that need to be reckoned with. It's powerful. Venus, in conjunction with all of this, brings us back into the principles of our femininity. It brings us back into our goddess. Okay, so think about Venus and the goddess. Think about all of this beautiful pleasure as perhaps an act of defiance, an act of resistance, an act of rebellion. This could be something that you could identify with as well. You're not sticking your head in the sand and closing the curtains and tra-la-la, ignoring. There's something about embodying your right to bodily autonomy. Oh, that's a lot of words, but you get what I mean. Pleasure for pleasure's sake. Nigella, my queen, we salute you. Thank you. In conjunction with all of that, there's also something else that I hope feels a bit like bravery for you. So we know that the unconscious wounding around your legacy, around your career, around your trajectory has been pressed upon over the past couple of months. We know that there's sort of something that feels like a bit of an urgency to address in this part of your life. We know that these topics keep rising, and perhaps hopefully there's been something of revelation that has been brought to the front for you. Just as some examples, it is nigh on impossible to work one's way out of poverty, no matter how much the fable of that occurrence tells you so. The American dream is a fallacy. The Australian dream is rapidly becoming a fallacy. So if you've been feeling guilt about your position, and if you've been feeling that your contribution is not good enough, or you've been feeling that you have misread the assignment, and no matter how hard you try, you can't work yourself out of this position, know, my love, my darling friend, that this is not all of your responsibility, that this structure that oppresses us so sincerely and so heavily is designed that way, that the carrot of potential security and safety and prestige and accomplishment is dangled in front of all of our faces. And from the get-go, we've been told if you are talented enough, if you work hard enough, then you will do it. And so many of us feel like failures because we are feeling that we're not talented enough, or that we haven't worked hard enough. It's a carrot that's being dangled in front of you. It's not the truth. That's being revealed through all of this rebellion that Uranus is bringing forward too. So think about that, and hopefully that's something that can help you with this wounding that's being unearthed. Perhaps you can feel Mars in Aries now. That's the bravery. That's the valiant act of courage. That's the truth, cold and fast, served up to you. That's what we're dealing with now. Mars and Venus are both in their element. Our femininity, our gentility, our pleasure, our access to pleasure is being lit up. Our bravery, our conviction, our self-determination is also being lit up. Two planets personal to us because they move so quickly. Both of them in their element at this time. For the rest of the month, use May to defiantly engage in acts and rituals of pleasure, and remind yourself that your efforts are not for nothing, that you are so incredibly talented and skilled, and you've worked hard your whole life, Cancer Rising, and your the effects of your, or the fruits of your labors are entangled with a system that benefits a very select few. So you're not at fault if you're continually facing the blinding anxiety of financial instability. At the end of it all, I like to look at the 10th house, less about this. That's more second house stuff. But even there, they're both tied to our values, our legacy, what we wish to leave behind. And as good, upstanding, loving citizens, we know that that has got nothing to do with the gift of property, or the gift of what am I trying to say? The best and most valuable artifact that you can leave behind of your existence, Cancer Rising, is how much that you were available to love, how much love you gave, and how much love you were able to receive, how you taught those coming up underneath you, the young ones, about their tenderness, about their sensitivity. This is something that a Cancer Rising knows everything about. So let's really drop into this part of the chart, the bravery and the might that it takes to remain sensitive, to remain open, to remain optimistic. Yes, those structures of society that I've described to you are designed to have us continually subordinate. We know this. We also take it with a grain of effing salt for what it's worth. The idea of currency rapidly becoming less valuable is something that the economy has certainly made sure of, but also it's a consciousness thing too, because we're all sort of being like, okay, money means shit, great, good, check, got it, no problem. What else? What means something? What has substance? It's love. It's the pleasure of our senses. So get in there, my beautiful Cancer friend. Get in there. Remember how lovable you are. Remember how intelligent you are when it comes to matters of the heart. Remember what you have stood by for all of your life. Love, nourishment. At a new moon, we plant a seed. There's your seed. Plant it. Let's see how it grows. What else do we have? Yeah, a stunning month. Lots of interactions with Venus and with Uranus and with Jupiter. I think right before the Sagittarius full moon, there's going to be a Venus and Jupiter conjunction, which we can all thoroughly look forward to. Perhaps Nigella will release a new book. Who knows? That's a powerful card. That's a powerful card too. All well and good. Your vivacity was punctured. Full respect. Completely understandable. I completely get it. And I know the pain of that. There's a proverb that I think is, I wrote it down in my diary when I was forgive me. I wrote it down in my diary when I was in art school. So we're talking like nearly 20 years ago, 15 years ago. And I'm paraphrasing it, but if I can recall, it goes something along the lines of what feels, those who feel inconsequential must have held consequence. Those who feel weak must have been strong. Those who feel useless must have once been useful. That's a massive paraphrase, and it could be really incorrect. In that case, it's an original work. We can sometimes sit in life, we can sit and we can reflect and we can recall times gone by where we were full, brimming with possibility and with hope and with optimism, and we felt really in our element and really working in our fullest potential. And then life happens, doesn't it? And then our experiences colour and pepper our self-perception. And sometimes that pain has us reluctant to engage, or sometimes we feel there's like a lamentation. We feel in grief for the person that we once were, that we can no longer be, because our confidence or our nerve is shot and we just can't do it anymore. What I love about the tarot is that this card, and I know so many people that have a tattoo of this card too, it's one of the most powerful images put to paper. It's universal in its description, isn't it? The trick, though, with the Three of Swords is that these swords are memories. It's not the current moment. As grief-stricken as it looks, it's actually not the current moment. It's a recollection of what had happened before. And so I'd encourage you, Cancer Rising, to, with a little wiggle and a little sensitivity, remove some of those swords. Allow the water of your being to flow. If that's grief, absolutely. If what I've been saying about the person that we once were has you, has that nostalgic sort of flicker of melancholy come across your face, allow that to happen, but then qualify it with oh God, forgive me. You're right. You're not the person that you used to be. You have changed. That's so good. That's brilliant. We've got to change. Each and every single one of us grows and evolves and moves as life goes on. There are many of us that need to be reminded of that. That yes, as hopeful as life seemed, or as so full of vim and vigor as you once were, and optimistic, and you thought that you could do anything, and you were unfettered, unchanged by the slings and arrows and the pain of life, that's absolutely one version of yourself that perhaps, yes, does no longer exist. But look at the version of you that exists now. Look at that incredibly reliable, grand version of yourself now, that through all of the experience, through all of the anxiety, all of the terror, all of the fear, the shame, the threats, look as you stand on your own 2 feet, powerful in your wisdom. That's a rebirth as far as I can see it. Yes, you're correct. You're not the same person that you used to be. Hopefully none of us are. This version of yourself that exists right here in this very second, Cancer Rising, is worth a great big cuddle and a great big hug. And some congratulations for making it this far. And I can't wait to check back in with you as the versions of you trickle on and roll on into the future. Well done, babe. Well done. done. That's your reading, Cancer Rising. Love you very much. If you are still here with me, please put a great big bowl of spaghetti in the comments for me, please, in honor of my patron saint, Nigella Lawson. God, I love her. If you're still here with me and you'd like to support my work financially, head to the link in the description below. There's an buymeacoffee.com/Uma Ruby is the link. You can subscribe to my work for 10 Australian dollars a month if you can afford it. You can also throw some money in the tip jar if you've got some change in your pocket too. If that's something that you are able to do at this time, I'd be very appreciative of that. If you'd like me to draw your birth chart and to read it for you, I'd be glad to meet you if I haven't already. You can make your appointment in the description, follow the link to umaruby.com and book yourself a spirit reading with me. I'll draw your chart and take you on a journey with your astrology and the tarot that correlates, and for an hour and a half, we'll storytell about you together. If I have read for you before and you'd like another reading with me, head to my website, go to the Back for More tab and pick a truth, magic, growth, love or femme reading. And we can look at the current transits as they're affecting your chart right here, right now, and pull some tarot together and go on a journey to hopefully answer your questions. I'll be with you soon for the Sagittarius full moon. Can't say when. I'll be lounging until then. Much love to you, Cancer Rising. Take good care. Bye. Hello, Scorpio Rising. Welcome to your reading for the Taurus new moon, happening very soon on Wednesday, the 8th of May at 1:24 p.m. if you're in the Southern Hemisphere with me. So we got there just in time, but what I've got to describe to you will carry us through for the rest of the month. We're in a really beautiful moment of potential for you, Scorpio Rising. I hope that the full moon in Scorpio 2 weeks ago, the last full moon that we just had, I hope that it was beneficial for you. I hope that that spotlight was not too glaring, and I hope that whatever revealed itself, you felt safe enough to go there. You felt safe enough to process, and you felt safe enough to maybe let some of it go as well. I really, in my own work, really felt the effect of that last full moon quite sincerely. It hit me in a really powerful, really beautiful way. And as much as there was things revealed that I'd much prefer not to look at, I sit here in this moment with the sort of sobering but content feeling of honesty. And so hopefully you have something like that you can work with for the future. Now, there is so much to work with at this new moon. So we know the sun and the moon are in the same place, so it will be a black night. There's no moon to work with. Perfect time to sow a seed. And so I have the Ace of Pentacles here just for us to keep in mind as I tell you the rest of this story. But you can see there's a seed, there's an offer, there's a potential here that's being granted you. There's a garden down here with a beautiful fence and lots of beautiful flowers and foliage. I wonder if this is something that you want to work on. I wonder if this is something that you would like to grow. I wonder if you will take this offer and plant it, and then perhaps in 6 months, October, November, when we have a look at the full moon in Taurus, we'll see what the results are of your labor. We know that Taurus is your 7th house, which is your relationships. It's the house of other people, how you connect, how you spend your energy, how you invest your energy with that of the other, the bonds and the contracts and the commitments that you make in this life. Now, obviously, there's been something of a revolution that's been occurring in that part of your life for some time, and possibly there was a bit of a crescendo not so long ago as far as the rebellion or the revolution that you've needed to instill in the way that you relate to other people. Perhaps there's behaviors that you won't accept any longer, and that was a bitter pill for some people to swallow, and that was confronting for you to engage in, but you've done it, and we're standing in a clearing now. what kind of looks to me like a field, freshly tilled soil, perhaps a little sort of desolate, a little empty, but there's that seed that we get to plant. And you know who's here to help us plant? Who's here to help us grow new relationship styles, new intimacies, new friendships, is Venus. So Venus has been in Taurus since the beginning of the month and will be here until the end of the month, leading us right into the next full moon. So this pocket of time encourages us to take it slow, to be as languid and pleasure focused as we are possibly able to do, all things considered, amidst the stress and the attention that is being pulled. You know, this life is really calling on us right now to act and to be alert. So that's occurring. Also, Venus is encouraging you to a soft space to land. I've been embodying Venus in Taurus this past couple of weeks in the kitchen. I've popped my Nigella Lawson on and I've been clacking around, cooking pasta sauce for 3 hours, chopping, stirring, eating, repeating. And it's proven so valuable. It's been such a salve for my anxiety in that revelation, in that process of revealing that the Scorpio full moon presented us all. You know, things that had to be looked at, that couldn't be ignored any longer. Finally, the truth revealed. There's a lot of distress in there for me, but I've found ways to regulate and to manage some of that confrontation by being kind to my body, being kind to my senses, all 5 of them, embodying this biological spacesuit of mine, really committing to being in my body as opposed to being stuck in my mind or stuck in my chest, where my anxiety often sits, is right here or here, sometimes in my old hump. But when I register that that is of the mind, and if I check my current living environment and look around and register that yes, I am safe in this moment, I am safe, then I can step back into my skin suit and I can start to feel my senses re-emerge. Sometimes that's also really good for me too, as far as working with the senses. Smells can sometimes bring me back to land. Taste is really good for that too. If you've been finding it tricky to eat because of the anxiety or for whatever other reason, I would encourage you to slow cook. You can start with pasta sauce, make a sofrito, so onion, celery, carrot, chop it up really fine, throw it in the pan, cook it for 25 minutes, half an hour. That's just the flavor base. You don't have to eat it yet, but just cook it. And the smell will perhaps whet your appetite a little bit. By the time you get to boiling the pasta, perhaps you will have re-encountered your appetite. I understand the limitations that we can sometimes put on our appetite, because that's been a way that we've learned control. When life feels so out of control, sometimes to control our nourishment or what we ingest has been a habit that we've picked up. I get it. It's okay. Venus in Taurus would encourage you to eat. It's a bit of a feeder type vibe. So go with that. In coupling with that sort of languid, sweet, soft, gentle loveliness, we also have something else that feels quite a lot like bravery. So Venus is in Taurus, in their element. Venus rules the sign Taurus, so couldn't be happier. Also Mars, your guiding light, is in Aries right now too, which is another sign that Mars rules. On your birth chart, Aries is the 6th house of repetition, of work, your body, commitment. And so what this really looks like to me, these 2 energies, is this bravery enough to step back into the physical self. Now, I'm going to be gentle here as I go on, but I'll remind you of all of the unconscious wounding that Chiron in Aries and the eclipses were urging us to look at over the past months. And it's all well and good to reveal and to dredge up and to bring up But how do we start the healing process? How do we work with what we've discovered about ourselves? For you, we're talking around topics of the body, of embodiment. And so unconscious wounding around your physical embodiment, around your access to feeling is conscious for us right now. Perhaps there's been things that you've watched or absorbed or seen or heard about, or the current moment as it stands is really affecting you and having you recall your own experience. And with that, there's been trepidation and there's been a fear of re-triggering yourself. Also, perhaps this astrology is speaking to something like bravery and something like self-determination, something like valor. That's a great word for it. Recentering yourself, stepping back into the principle of my body, my choice, and allowing some of that more yielding, sweet pleasure to permeate your seventh house and your relationships again. It's a long process and you don't need to rush any of this, Scorpio rising. And this is just, remember, this is just a story. This is just a parable. This is just an interpretation of some pictures and the galaxy as I see it. If that's hitting home for you though, Scorpio rising, go a little deeper. Simple pleasures. The act of, as I said, smell, taste, they bring us back into the physicality of our existence. And for as brilliant as it is to have a mind and to have such a refined consciousness as we human beings tend to think that we do, although I think that animals we've got a lot to learn from the animal kingdom, I'll put it that way. And it's all well and good for us to articulate our superiority as human beings. But yeah, there's so much that is unsaid and so powerful in the animal kingdom. Off topic. It's all well and good to have a mind that is active and working and processing and brilliant and intelligent. It can also sometimes get us into trouble when we get stuck in the past or stuck in the memory. All of this beautiful work to embody or to re-embody, perhaps after, there's something of a reclamation of self, a reclamation of autonomy over one's physicality. Looking forward to perhaps something that feels like gentle, pleasurable reconnection in your relationships. It does take a lot of help and a lot of work to get back there, and a negotiation too. So you'll be entering into relationships. This seed that we're planting is for new relationships that are just as aware of the complexity of intimacy as you are. And I really love that you've taken all that you can, the time that you need to rest, have a pit stop, let the noise happen around you. What it seems to me is we're stepping away from someone that sort of granted you a possibility. And it was an emotional one. And what you've said to them is you've been like, thank you, I can't at this juncture. This is what this looks like to me. I'll put it that way so it's right for you. And so as we move from this, so I can't at this time doesn't mean no forever. Sometimes it now is the time not to rush nothing, Scorpio rising. You're in no rush for anything, and no amount of time between proverbial drinks is going to impede your progress as a lover, as a someone worth being in a relationship with. We need as much time as we need to do our healing work and to provide ourselves with comfort and to rectify the past and to work with integrity, you know. That is to say, you're not missing out. You're not going to forget how to do it. But these things take time, as much time as they need. And this offer, as sweet as it seems to be, as gentle and as sort of optimistic as it was, your action of saying, not at this time, I can't, is being just presented right here. What we're moving forward into is something that feels a little more articulate. So there's an energy here. There's someone perhaps externally to you, someone that you respect, someone that you can trust, someone that has their empathy intact, but also has their intellect thoroughly intact too. Their mind is very sharp. And so the truth of the matter is present to them. They have registered all the evidence and they have filed it away. And now they're about to tell you how they see it. Now, read that as it might be. This could be in relationship to this individual. It could be a sort of like, right, this is what I think. This is from my perspective. It could be something that's got nothing to do with your relationships. Perhaps this is something that's sort of like clearing ground for you to feel capable of entering back into relationships again. I'm not sure. But what you can look out for, Scorpio Rising, is someone, as I said, beautiful, they're a queen, empathetic, but also really intelligent and really direct with how they deliver information. You can trust this person, they're not lying. It's not in their interest to lie or to manipulate, and they're kind of sick of lying and manipulation at this juncture. So if it's an opinion on this, or if it's even a conversation around intimacy and the concept of, and the maybe the fear of the inability that you have to engage again in intimacy with someone. This queen is going to tell you the truth. So listen and enjoy it because you can trust them. That's your reading, Scorpio Rising. I hope that that feels good for you. Thank you very much for being here with me. If you are still, put a bowl of spaghetti in the comments in honor of Nigella. Thank you. That'd be lovely. If you're in the financial position to support my work, Scorpio, you can subscribe in the link in the description below to buymeacoffee.com/umaruby. You can subscribe for 10 Australian dollars a month if you're enjoying my horoscope reading work. Or you can throw some money in the tip jar. Either option, that I'd be very grateful for. If you'd like me to draw your birth chart and read it to you, head to the link again, umaruby.com, and you can book yourself a birth chart reading with me. I'll use your astrology and the tarot that's in relationship to your astrology, and we'll spend a good hour and a half going on a journey together about your essence. If I have read for you before and you'd like to see me again, head to the Back for More tab and you can choose a truth, magic, growth, love, or femme reading. We'll look at the current transits, how they're affecting your chart at this moment, and also pull some tarot together to answer your questions. Much love to you, Scorpio. You're doing such brilliant work and I'm very proud of you. It's not been easy, none of it has, but it's been really worth it and it feels like you're ready. So you tell me. Much love. Hello Pisces Rising, welcome to your reading for the Taurus new moon happening very soon on Wednesday the 8th of May at 1:24 p.m. if you're in the Southern Hemisphere with me. So we got there just in time for the moon. However, what I've got to say is going to carry us forward into the month of May and up to the next lunation. So let's relax into this. Let's not rush it so much. Let's try and be present in this very moment, right here, right now. I've been doing so since the full moon in Scorpio just gone. I've been committed to being present in my body and in my senses, 5 of them, sometimes 6. But I've been doing a lot of cooking that's been really slow moving work. I've been working on recipes that take hours to prepare and being in no rush and enjoying the smells, the sounds, the repetition, the chopping, all of that stuff. I've been listening to, on a loop, one of my favorites, Nigella Lawson. I've been really invested in the therapy that that woman provides for me, has done since I was a teenager. I've just loved her voice and her presence so sincerely, and she's really helped me through some very lonely times in my life. And in this moment, I've gone to Nigella to show me her ways. In the old days, I didn't cook so much from her recipes, but these days I do, and I really enjoy it. There's something about tastes aligning and discovering my own tastes through her advice that I so admire in the way that she delivers her message and her work. Having said all of that, there could be an astrological purpose for it. The planet Venus is in Taurus right now, has been since the last full moon. And so Venus is the goddess of beauty and love and connection and pleasure. In Taurus, one of their home bases, the fixed earth sign of grounded reality, of the garden, of taking as long as you need to grow, of the finer things in life. So you can see that beautiful image. I can see, I wonder what rising sign Nigella is. I wonder if she's a Taurus. I'll have to look it up. I don't think that it's available. That'd be lovely if she was, though. I can see there's so much imagery around Venus in Taurus that I can see in the work of Nigella, someone who is a feeder, who writes so poetically about one of the senses or some of the senses of life, and doesn't mind taking a long time to get there too. I hope that you can feel that gentle connection. I hope that you can feel that encouragement not to rush through this moment in time. Perhaps use the rest of May, Pisces Rising, as a time where you can really take your time and take it slow. We're in no rush for anything. Obviously, eclipse season was so hectic. Obviously, there was so much wounding to be addressed that was brought to the very surface of our lives, things to really analyze and to look at insofar as topics of your self-worth and your access to resources, how you resource yourself, your money, your cash flow, all of these sorts of things. The Chiron, Dragon, Mercury, retrograde, all of that nonsense was really tenderizing and really provided some really vulnerable moments for so many. I won't say that it's smooth sailing, because we keep one foot in astrology, the other foot in the lived conscious reality of this life. And it does feel still that there is so much to contend with as far as the pressure of the outside world. But if I'm giving you this reading to provide you with some astrological comfort, the lesson here, or the advice, is to take May as gently and as pleasurably as you are possibly able to. Venus in Taurus is at home. They're really happy there. They couldn't be happier. Well, maybe in Libra. But you can see that there's something about one of the personal planets finally being in their element, being in a place where they can do their best work, that is really comforting in the astrological sense. That's happening in Taurus, but it's also happening in Aries too, in your second house of your values, your money, your self-worth. The planet Mars has left Pisces into Aries, and so you can sort of maybe feel that sort of pressure releasing from the urgency of your selfhood. And now Mars can do its good work in Aries. Mars is the guiding light for Aries. And so things like confidence, things like bravery, things like self-determination and valor are all at the forefront of our mind. All of this unearthing of the wounding around your resources is still sitting here, and it's all well and good to unearth it. It's all well and good to reveal it, but it's what we do with that information moving forward that really has to make the difference. We can't just leave those wounds uncovered because they'll get infected. We need to, perhaps with Mars, cauterize those wounds efficiently, disinfect, and efficiently deal with. Now that might leave a bit of a scar. However, what can you tell yourself with honest clarity and truthfulness about your capacity to resource yourself at this juncture? What have you learned over the past couple of months? What is obvious and real? And don't swim away from me, Pisces. What is the reality of this current moment? perhaps in the way that you think about your resources, you think about the efficacy of your efforts and how they are able to resource your life, or it's either a perception that you have about your abilities, or it's a fact, it's a reality of the current moment. Either way, use this bravery to face it. So Chiron is still in Aries, the dragon is still in Aries. We've got more eclipses later in the year, one in your first house, I will remind you, so you don't, we're moving into a really pivotal year, Pisces rising. But it's just in this moment, in May, what's been revealed to you? How can you work with this really amiable, collaborative, helpful astrology? It's all well and good to want to start a new venture or whatever. It's all really brilliant, actually, to want to work for yourself. I'm in full support of that. What's the reality of that for you right now? What has this unconscious wounding? What has it revealed to you about the processes that you need to take in order to make that stick, to make that work? What in Taurus, in your third house of your village, your local environment, your house of the goddess. Now remember, the goddess Venus is in the house of the goddess. This feels really potent. We learn language in the third house. We tell stories in the third house, Pisces rising. And so for the rest of May, there are stories to be told about the goddess. They're going to reach a crescendo when Venus and Jupiter conjoin, right before the next full moon. So what I really would urge for you, Pisces rising, is to lock into the fruits of this time, what feels abundant locally, where you are right now, what feels good, what feels that you've got room to feel it, what feels regenerative, what feels restorative for you at this time in your life. And how can you bring that forward and talk about it in response to your resourcefulness? I completely have been going through it so sincerely these past couple of weeks since that Scorpio full moon. There's been so much that has been revealed to me about the instability of old structures, old villages, old cohabitations or interactions, exchanges, old ways of being. That page that is turned on my prior existence, there's no turning back. And a lot of it's been very difficult. A lot of it I'd much prefer not to know. A lot of it I've been reckoning with myself and my own resourcefulness. I am a Pisces rising, so we can get quite intimate here if you like. There have been so many moments that I've felt the anxiety rise in my chest, in my throat, in my back, and I've felt in this sort of lockstep of worry for multiple topics of which are private to me, but you understand, it's that sort of like, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh gosh, okay, this is the reality, what do I do? I'm reminded of this again. I thought that I was past it, I thought that I was over it, and it's been so jarring. However, I have really been feeling Venus in Taurus, and I've been in that kitchen. When that has happened, I get in there, I start chopping, I start stirring, I start tasting. One of the best bits of advice I can give you, Pisces rising, is when it comes to waves of anxiety, the older you get and the more acquainted you become with those patterns, the easier it becomes to be able to name that it's happening. To be unconsciously caught in anxiety is one of the most terrifying feelings that one can feel. It feels like present danger, but it's of the mind, but it feels like danger. With growth and with development, when anxiety arrives or when triggers emerge, when the past comes back to bite us on the ass, we're reminded of times where we had 30 cents in our back pocket and nowhere to live, and we had nothing in the cupboard, when we were skint flat broke, when we were relying on the kindness of other people's families to take care of us, whatever it is that's reality for you. When that smells like that's coming up in the present day, or when there's something occurs to you that sort of triggers that memory, when you're unconscious to the fact that you can observe and name your thoughts and coexist with them, those thoughts sort of take over the body, and they can really affect how you feel and affect your well-being, your health, because it feels like the present moment is dangerous. So I encourage you to work on those techniques of being able to register that this is a thought form, register that this is absolutely coming back and this is a memory. How do I coexist with this? It's not to ignore it, to stuff it down, or to sort of like smoke screen it. It's to be like, yes, okay, this is happening. And like the weather, I know that this will change. This is why astrology is such a beautiful tool for self-reflection, because it does give us these moments or these opportunities to register that this is a moment in time. This won't be like this forever. We know that the astrology of the last months, not all of us, but for a lot of us, it was really in reflection and in rhythm with an internal conflict, an internal storm. That's one of the beautiful bits of poetry about astrology, is how that mirror can connect. And now I'm telling you that the astrology moving forward looks like it's going to be sweet, yielding, delicious, and available for you. I was looking at the Three of Swords as I was describing all of that to your Pisces rising, and you can definitely see this is a classic image, one of the most ferociously beautiful and tragic images of the whole tarot. I know many, many beautiful folks that have this image tattooed to their very bodies. They really stand by it. It's an emblem for all of us. Anyone that has a heart knows this card all too well. The trick is that these swords are memories. This card isn't emblematic of the moment right here, right now. This isn't current pain. This is a memory of times past when we were in pain, when we were in such sorrow. And so you can see all of that analogy that I was giving to you around the idea of sort of mindfulness in the sense of naming and observing, becoming the observer of your thoughts. This card speaks so clearly and so truly to that principle. The great thing to do with the Three of Swords is to find room enough to remove those swords, because then from the air of our nature, our thoughts, our swords, our mentality, then we allow some of that water to flow back to the feeling, back to the body. There's so much that can be resolved in the body that the mind has difficulty resolving, because it does get caught on a loop sometimes, and that's natural too. You mustn't feel that you're inept if that's an occurrence for you. Repetitious thought, intrusive thought, it's more common than you might think, my love. It's how we work with that, or how we work towards aiding that, so that we are better equipped for when it happens again. There's something here about moving from the past, something about a sense of security. This card breaks my heart every single time I see it. It says guidance on the very top of it right here. Some folks, when they look at this card, there's an instant lamentation of what they lack in life. There are a lot of us that crave guidance, or did crave guidance in our formative years. And it's a particular type of guidance. It's a very tactile, hands-on, practical type of guidance. The guidance that shows you how to fix a flat tire, or the guidance that shows you how to do your taxes, or the guidance that shows you how to balance a household budget, or how to fix a fence, or how to change a washer in a tap. All these sorts of practical, useful, hands-on things. How to build a fire. In lamentation of this lack of guidance sometimes that we can fall into, Pisces rising, I would like for you to remember, out of all of the skills that you feel that you lack, all of the things that you are in sorrow or grief for that you were never taught or you don't know how to do, think about all of the things that you do know how to do, that you taught yourself and that others showed you along the way, perhaps not so classically in the tradition of the caregiving role, you know, but your friends, your fellow human beings, your lovers across your life. There's been skills that you've picked up, guidance that you have gleaned from others, and also that you provide for others too. That's valuable. And so I fully respect this moment to grieve the memory of the past feeling of abandonment or feeling of rejection. I completely, fully respect that to be absolutely true. And when talking about conversations around self-worth and around fiscal second house availability, money, and the ability to manage that money, this is a very common story for so many of us. And this isn't to place blame on caregivers from the past for our own ineptitude, but this is something about consistently referring to our skill base as inept, that has us think, oh well, it's from birth. You know, I was never taught. I'm just a fuck up. I'm just useless. I'll say it again. Think about everything that you do know how to do and that you are really skilled at. Think about the guidance that you've picked up from loved ones as your life has trolleyed along. Think about everything that you have shared with other people too. Guidance, paternal, let's face it, this is a very powerful image of paternal guidance, is really such a sacred idea, realistically available to very few. But the substance of your knowledge, Pisces rising, and the substance of your commitment to offering guidance to those that might need it from here on in does something very magical. It breaks the cycle of neglect and of abandonment, because you're not abandoning yourself in this moment, and you're not abandoning those that you love. So congratulations. That's your reading, Pisces rising. If you're still here with me, put a bowl of spaghetti in the comments, please, in honor of my patron deity, Nigella Lawson, who, let's face it, speaking of guidance, has provided me with an invaluable resource for most of my life. If you are in the financial position where you're able to support my work, you can head to the link in the description below. buymeacoffee.com/UmaRuby will take you to my subscription site, and you can also throw some money in the tip jar there. If you would like me to draw your birth chart, they look like this. I will take you on a journey through your astrology, through the tarot that correlates, and tell you about yourself for an hour and a half. In the spirit reading, I would be delighted to do that for you. If I have read for you before and you'd like to see me again, head back to my website, to the Back for More tab, and choose a truth, growth, magic, love, or femme reading. And we'll look at the current transits in the sky above us, how they're affecting your chart specifically, and then we'll take a journey with the tarot together that we pull together and hopefully answer your questions. I feel cleansed. I need to wash my makeup off, put on my bathrobe, and start my pasta sauce, Pisces Rising. So I'll see you in 2 weeks for the Sagittarius full moon. Until then, take the lead of Venus. Take Venus's lead and gently journey into spaces of comfort, security, and nourishment for the rest of the month. Much love to you.